Good morning. This is Gino Izzi with the National Weather Service here in Chicago. I want to take a couple minutes to talk about a potentially dangerous heat wave that seems to be taking shape for this weekend. So we're looking at forecast high temperatures over the weekend to get well into the 90s and possibly even getting close to 100 degrees in spots on Sunday. Peak heat indices this weekend should top out over 100 degrees and could even get as high as 110 degrees in a few spots. It's looking increasingly likely that Monday could be as hot and humid as the weekend, though confidence is much lower as some models are forecasting a backdoor front to come in off the lake on Monday afternoon. If that backdoor front doesn't materialize, then the heat could even linger into Tuesday, which is what some of our newer forecast models are starting to show. It's important to keep in mind that we are still a few days away from this heat wave, and the forecast could certainly change as newer data comes in. So a few of the parameters we look at to forecast heat I've kind of highlighted here on a chart showing the climatology, and you'll notice that where the little black dots are on the top of each one of these, we're basically, the forecast is currently for these elements to be at or above record levels for this time of year. So that tends to lend a little bit of confidence in what we're forecasting for this weekend. Also lending some confidence is our typical pattern for extreme heat in mid-June. Looks like this, where you've got a ridge of the hottest temperatures extending from the Central Plains into northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. And you've got a big, strong upper high, a big dome of heat centered over the Ohio Valley and Midwest. And these two maps right here are what a typical heat wave looks like for Chicago. And basically what we're expecting this weekend and what the forecast models are showing for this weekend looks very similar to what we typically see, or what we've typically seen for major heat waves this time of year. So what I'm showing here is not so much our forecast as it is a range of what the various computer models are forecasting for high temperatures. So in the lower end of the spectrum, we do have some computer models forecasting highs only getting to around 90 for Rockford and Chicago on Saturday, while on the high end of the spectrum, we have some models going as high as 96 or 97. Our current forecast is for middle 90s at both Chicago and Rockford on Saturday, but I just want to show you the range in the possible forecast highs from the various forecast models. Now, as we step ahead to Sunday, that range actually increases a little bit, particularly on the upper end. We've now got some forecast models forecasting temperatures to get to 100 degrees on Sunday. This isn't the most likely scenario. The most likely scenario is that we'll be somewhere in the middle or upper 90s, which is what our current forecast is. But I just want to show you again, the range and model possibilities ranges from the upper 80s to around 90, all the way up to about 100 degrees. And that's just from looking at a whole spectrum of models that we look at when trying to forecast temperatures. Now on Monday, that range remains quite large from upper 80s to mid 90s. And again, this is going to hinge a lot on what time and if that front comes in off the lake on Monday. If the front were to be delayed on Monday, then we'd probably be a little bit closer to the higher end of these forecast numbers here. Currently, we're forecasting lower 90s, somewhere in the middle, with low degree of confidence. If the front comes in earlier, we might have to lower these forecast high temperatures. If it comes in later, we might have to raise them. And by Tuesday, the range really gets large, and that's because there's a lot of uncertainty among the various computer models as to where that front will be. There's some models that are now showing that front remaining to our north through a good chunk of the day on Tuesday, which if that were to happen, we could end up with highs in the low to mid 90s. Conversely, if the front comes through earlier, like some of the models are still showing, we'll probably be in the lower end of the spectrum. Our current forecast is for lower 80s, but you can see the confidence is a little lower as we have a wide range of solutions from the various forecast models. So one of the elements that's really key when you start talking about heat waves and the impacts of heat on us is what the dew point is. The dew point is a really good measure for how humid it is outside. And what we're looking at currently for this weekend is forecast humidity values or forecast dew point values to be in the low to mid 70s, which as you see on here on the chart falls into the very humid category. Now, dew point is a very difficult element to forecast, and sometimes when you get really hot, the dew point falls off in the afternoon. It's a possibility that could happen this weekend, but I got to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff we're looking at and a lot of the factors such as the recent heavy rainfall, the green up from that rainfall, and the soil moisture would tend to suggest that the forecast values in the low to mid 70s this weekend for dew points is a pretty reasonable forecast. So assuming we get the low to mid 70 dew points as forecast, then we'll probably see heat indices get up to in the 100 to 110 degree range over the weekend. Now, Monday, the heat index values, our forecast heat index values are a little bit lower. However, if confidence increases that the front's going to hold off until Monday night or Tuesday, then the heat index values you see on Saturday and Sunday will probably continue right on into Monday as well. And you'll notice when looking at the heat index chart here from the National Weather Service that the heat indices, once you get above about 105, you're really starting to get into the danger category, which is what we're looking for on Saturday, Sunday, and potentially on Monday as well. So this is a heat wave you're going to want to take seriously. So wrapping things up, we're looking at highs well into the 90s this weekend with heat indices over 100 degrees in many areas. It's looking increasingly likely Monday could be as hot and humid as it is over the weekend, though our confidence on Monday is a bit lower. There's some potential that the heat could linger into Tuesday, and it's worth remembering that the heat wave is still a few days away and the forecast could still change, so definitely stay tuned to our Facebook and our webpage as well as Twitter, and we'll keep you updated on the latest.